Hey, 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 YouTubers and friends. How are you all doing tonight? Absolutely fabulous, I hope. Um, I'm hearing an echo somewhere. Sorry about that, everybody. I unmuted my partners in crime and our guest, and I heard an echo. So, on that note, don't go away because we're having Mike from Baby Girl Mining with us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tuesday Night Hangout Live. It's Tuesday Night Hangout Live. It's Tuesday Night Hangout Live. It's Tuesday Night Hangout Live. With your hosts, Ed Marvin, Toledo and Jess, and Dano. Tuesday Night Hangout Live is a Flash in Your Pan production.
Oh, everybody out there, let me know if you're having issues with the broadcast, please. Because on one side it says I'm all good, and on the other side it says it's not.
Seemed fine on my end.
Okay. Let me see about any lag or anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Don't seem that bad, only 12 seconds. Everything's working there, Ron. Thank you. Callie Picker, Mr. Lodak, David Villa. I tried mailing out your package today, but post office said that address didn't exist. So please email me the right mailing address or another mailing address to flashinyourpan@gmail.com. Birthday boy from yesterday was #1 in the chat room tonight. Our friend Brian, New England. #1 lurker, Bob Dips in the house.
Hey, Daniel Batal is in our little chat room.
Daniel Patel's in there.
Yeah.
You know, that guy's totally awesome.
Welcome. Definitely.
Welcome, Daniel.
I've been
Rodney
watching his
House.
videos trying to learn.
He's
I
great
see
with
Chef Barry's in the house too.
yeah, but Daniel Patel, he's great with Filmora. Any creator who wants to learn their way around a good program, I use Filmora 9. Daniel Patel is the man to watch. Kaz D, HD Shovelhead.
Rodney House is in the house.
I see Wayne just snuck in.
Yeah.
Nugget Brain Peterson.
Mr.
Shaw's
House.
Prospecting is here. Oh,
Ron Shaw.
Allie Picker, the other Ed. How you doing? Ryan, don't call in tonight.
Terry Curry's here. Hello.
Yeah.
Randy
Colin
Scotty
Logan.
Tony.
Colleen just showed up.
Rick
Yep.
Heron. That name don't look
RST.
familiar.
Bob Denault, how are you tonight? I've never watched Daniel Patel.
Well,
all about the Fillmore that Ed uses and that I've started using it. I'm
Ah.
learning little by little.
I
he
see.
does a couple of other different editing programs also. He's a professional musician. He puts together some great content. He used to have a food channel. Doggone it, Daniel, I forgot the name of it. But it's something to do with spicy. You're Mexican, Jesse. You might have liked it. but
Yeah, because we all eat spicy food, right?
of
Jesse.
course, you know. Don't you?
Well, of course I do.
Nothing wrong with spicy.
No. Spicy is good.
Oh, I like it sometimes, but I pay for it for a few days later.
Well, we all do, Ed. Nobody gets away. Nobody gets away without, paying for it later.
Right.
And no doubt. Bob Denault, your package is on its way. I believe so, yes. Hey,
Jersey,
Colleen.
Hey, dudes.
Ladies are here.
I don't know if it's Audra or Rach, but hello and welcome to both of
You're
you.
you're more than welcome, Daniel. I mean every word of it. Dudes.
Chaos Divers.
Rach might be there, but I would say that's Audra.
I don't know who Chaos Divers is.
No, but welcome.
Yeah, welcome. He says nobody knows who he is and he's loving it.
Oh, that's Jacob.
Really? I would have never guessed.
A nice Christmas tree, Dano.
Yeah, my wife put that up.
Yeah.
I'm never home. I'm always at work. I was surprised I made it home tonight. I said I might have to go back in later. I don't know.
Evening, Matt. Susan Hamilton. Good to see you.
Hi, Susan. John Deere, Utah. How's it going?
Well, we have a professional miner with us tonight, a lot like Jacob from Chaos Divers. Now, I take it. Formerly known as Chaos Paddlers, but he's also a small scale miner on his free time. Fellow YouTuber, Gold Fever. There's no cure for gold fever, so Gold Fever Survivor or whatever you. Mike from Baby Girl Mining, how are you doing tonight?
Hey guys, doing wonderful. Kicking back in the wonderful snow-covered country.
So are you in the desert or up in the mountains or no, you're in Nevada?
Okay, so we're in Nevada. Everybody thinks Nevada, you got sand, some sagebrush, and some cactus, and that's all south by Vegas. Up here we got mountains, sagebrush, and we got trees and water and all the normal things you see. You just have to go looking for it.
Okay, so it's not just all desert.
It's all high mountain desert.
Right.
My altitude here where we're at is 5,000 feet.
Ooh. You're almost up a mile high.
Yep. Most of the play sites are between 6,500 and 7,500.
So how long you been mining professionally?
Since I came back out here, working between a contractor and for some of the mines, probably 8 or 9 years. The rest of the time, play in the dirt.
Play in the dirt. So you in your playtime, and when you're playing in the dirt, you're mining placer gold, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, cool. But in your real job, what are you mining there? Load, or is that
Yeah.
just all it?
It's all load, geothermal deposit gold,
Okay.
microscopic.
Cool. So what kind of I've been following you on Facebook. I know you built a trauma, right?
Yes, sir.
Have you been using it yet?
No, I believe what's going to happen, we'll break it out this summer. Once we get down in our shaft out there and we start getting in some decent gold, golding pay dirt, then we'll go ahead and break it out, set it up here at the house. And I think I'm gonna probably run it here at the house.
So you just be bringing loads to the house, huh?
Yeah, it's a little expensive for bonds out here to run anything on.
How big is your trauma?
It's about 4 foot, 16-inch trommel, and then it's got a conveyor chute going out the back for discharge, and a fairly decent 3-inch minus grizzly up front.
So I'm envisioning you bringing home dump truck loads of dirt.
That never happened. I don't know what happened. That never happened.
Oh, okay. And it's not gonna happen, right?
Well,
No,
if
not
he
at all.
did that from the mine he worked at, Jesse, he would have to have a cyanide leach plant. And...
No. I'm talking from his playground, not from work.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
That
my bad.
happened, but the playground that might just happen. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I can see you bringing back a dump truck and just dump it in your driveway and running your trommel.
Like that, yeah.
Then what are you going to do with your tailings?
Well,
Send
I've
them
got
to us.
Oh, right.
We'll just go ahead and fill them in.
There you go.
Gold in it.
Fill your potholes with the gold bearing dirt. Nothing wrong with that. So how long you been mining?
My dad got me started in it right around when I was 10. Showed me how to pan. Kind of sort of got me hooked. When I came back out here from the East Coast after doing my hitch in the service, I got real heavy into it, and then every year, as every miner knows, it's just a tumbling snowball effect.
Right.
From a pan to a sluice to a trommel to buying equipment, and then now you're broke. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you for your service too, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a natural progression. You go from happy, rich life to working your butt off and broke. Okay. I was just trying to read some of the comments here. It is hard. It's difficult to try to keep up, with that and you.
Yeah. Definitely so.
Taz D Gold Prospecting says they won't let us get pay dirt sent to Australia. Huh. They don't want that American dirt over there. Might contaminate all theirs.
I thought
bring in invasive diseases and grubs and stuff.
I heard Australia won't let them ship out gold anymore either. Is that true, Taz?
Really?
Diamond Miner Ivans, it's going great. It's Tuesday. And the show is on. It's always great on Tuesday night.
Right.
So Mike, what's your goal here? I know you said something. You had a few different claims. What's your goal? Are you looking to make it rich, or just looking to you know, be able to take care of your family? What?
That would always be the end goal, to be rich. But
Sure.
in,
No, I had that
in the
dream.
world of small scale, honest mining, most people aren't that lucky to find this huge deposit that's just going to make them rich. But they do find sustainable deposits that do put some cash in their pocket. And the idea is to go from prospecting small mining to maybe having a small setup or small little running operation at some point.
Right. I mean, because you know, you look at, you watch the shows and you see these guys pulling out all this gold, and you know, you gotta realize that all that gold they're pulling out costs a lot to get. You know,
Yes,
so I mean,
yes, it does. I know. I was watching. I'll have to throw a shout out, but I was watching Gold Chasers the other day, and they're like, "Oh, we got some fly poop gold here going," and I'm just like, "Man, you're just digging right by the edge of the creek. It's right there. It's so easy to get to." And I'm like, "I'm 8 feet in the hole, and I haven't seen any fly poop yet. I'd be happy with fly poop."
So you're digging down. You're digging holes.
I got two separate going. One is the Candy Claim, which I get a fairly decent runoff creek that runs probably about maybe 6-7 months out of the year from the snow melt
right.
till the end of summer. So I can actually dredge and sluice up there and that kind of material, which the very first video I produced, that one showed us out there. And the second one was the second test where I ran a dredge out there, which I have plans to go back this summer, and I'm going to check a couple more spots, see if we can't get it to produce a little bit better gold.
So what size dredge can you use?
Out here, they'll let you use a 3-inch dredge.
Ah.
And that's it, max 3-inch dredge. So I got it set up in a high anchor combo. It's a lot easier to move it around, test different spots and whatnot. So we've got the Candy Claim that we're looking at for later on this, do some testing. Also, we've got the Golden Revenge, which Golden Revenge is all underground. What we're doing is we went up there and tested really good. Came out with pretty decent gold up there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking at, okay, so this one gets really kind of hard to explain, but it's got a creek that comes down, and everybody always says, "Oh, there's a creek. It's got round gravels and water flows through it." And it's not quite like that here. It's more of a wet freeze, break everything off, and kind of slide down in the mud, and then maybe you get a little bit of water that pushes it a little bit, or it was a huge rain that year, and maybe you'll get some of the flood that'll come down and move some of the material. But we get a lot of angular rocks in there, but there's still some of the smaller, more smoothed out rocks. But you've got a huge base of alluvial deposit on top of it before you actually get down to bedrock. So we're working on our way down to in our shaft to get down to the bedrock down there and start pulling some gold out once we get there, because that's where it's been hitting. That's right, that 6 inches above bedrock, and then about 2 feet into it.
Huh. So you're not really looking for rearward channels, then, are you?
No, there's a few ancient ones floating around out here. More of it's alluvial or eluvial deposit,
Right.
where it's broken off and just moved a short distance away, and that's it.
So your gold then okay? Do you find pickers and nuggets and stuff too?
Yeah, yeah. Me personally, I found a few small pieces here and there. Nothing of great size. I know people that I do work with. They found bigger stuff than I do.
Right. So your gold's not all rounded and smooth either, then, right? It's all, it
all looks source gold, like it's just left from the spot, maybe
right.
Feet. It's chunky, very coarse, very angular gold.
Oh, that'd be fun stuff to find. Our gold here is all rounded, little flat flakes and round little mini nuggets and stuff, but
Yeah,
it's all been pounded.
One of the mines I worked at out here by Cortez, they've got plaster up there, but it's very selective mining. So you'll have a deposit here, and then you go on the other side and you hope for another riverbank that's got an inside bend over there or a creek channel, and you'll have these little deposits float on those that you'll have that, and then you'll get with that small flaky, like you're talking about, very out stuff. But most of I've seen, some places you'll run out here and it'll be chunky coarse gold. Other places, like the Tuscarora area, I did video on that not too long ago. It has a really fine flour gold out there that it's just, when you go through the ground, it's just tons and tons of small fine flour gold. And then like the one out by Cortez, it's got the more chunkier but flat gold. So it's got a little bit of everything out here.
Got a mixture of it all, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And plus, like I said, most of the bigger mines out here, they're all running these Carlin Trend deposits, which is all microscopic.
Right. Yeah, ours is pretty close to microscopic here.
Fly poop.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, hey, it all adds up is what I say.
That's exactly it. It's all for the gold.
Yep. It all adds up. It all has weight.
Exactly.
So I keep telling my wife, it's adding up, it's adding up. She goes, I don't see it.
Well, I got 1/1000th of a gram. It was good.
Right. You're right. It's better than what I had yesterday.
Exactly. So.
Hey, Lagrarola Detections the Metals. How you doing?
It's our friend from South America.
Right.
Argentina, was it?
I think it is Argentina. I don't remember.
I think it was Argentina.
It is. Yeah.
Hola, amigo. I forgot all the Spanish I knew how to get along with. Now I just know enough to get my butt kicked.
Brian keeps asking questions here. I'm just not ask and make him call in a little bit later.
Well, yeah, he could wait to call in. Brian, call in when we open up the lines.
Right. Hey, Jelly Bear.
Pardon me, Jelly Bear. So we could open up the lines, It is part of the things we do.
Yes, and while we're waiting for Brian to call in and ask his questions, I got one for you. What's been your everybody asks what's your most dangerous? What's been your most fun time going out there? I mean, I'm sure most of the time is always fun, but something that sticks out.
Something that always sticks out for me is Nevada is super hugely cultured around the mining industry out here. It always has been.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot separate mining history from normal history. It's impossible because almost every town out here was formed around some kind of mining district or something like that. So if you go visit a ghost town, either A was a railroad or B was a mining town. And some of the mining towns were able to exist a little bit better. Perfect example, Virginia City, everybody's heard of that, the Comstock Road. Beautiful town, great, but you can't talk about Virginia City without talking about Comstock Road. And most of the towns out here are like that. And it's just fun going through a deposit book out here that tells you, where all the deposits are at, and just showing up someplace and be like, wow, look at all this structure. And you go out there and here's these rock houses that these old boys used to put together, and they got a rock house that was out there, and then you go down a little bit further, and there's another one, and there's another one, and it's like, man, these guys were just absolutely insane thinking about putting all that together and just living out here in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I know when one of the things that I did when I was in Nevada is I was in Austin for 3 or 4 months. All the old buildings, all the history behind, and a lot of efforts that these people put into putting a shack together. It's still a lot of work.
It's literally in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
You drove 2 hours to go someplace, and you're 2 hours from whatever place you were at, which is already nowhere.
Right.
And here's this old rock house that someone used to live in, or it was a little mining encampment where they've had stuff going on. But out here in the mining history, you end up with a lot of the old Chinese miners that came off the railroad once the railroad was finished. And you'll see a lot of the Chinese encampments. One that's really good for that up here is Mountain City. And there's a place up there called Grasshopper Gulch, which the town of Mountain City actually has a water reclamation area up there. But you go up there and you move up further into that canyon, and you see how the Chinese miners were so methodical when they're actually going through the placer deposit. They actually took the bigger rocks, and they'd be in one pile. Then you have the smaller rocks to be in another pile. Then you have the little rocks like this, and they're in another pile. And it's all worked out like that. And then you see where they knock down just a little bit of dust, and then you go back on another side, and here's all these little dugouts where they're living in. I mean, that's what I find the most fun and most amazing, is when you go to a new spot that you haven't been yet, or just out riding around out here in the woods, and you come across an encampment or an older house, and man, boy, they got some balls to be out here.
Yeah, I know, because some of them sort of houses, I mean, they're not very big, first of all,
No.
And then you think about 1, 2, 3 guys living in those miners, a lot of work just to build it, and then the hassle of living in it. But I noticed too that out there, like one of the places I used to go to was Hot Springs, near a tungsten mine. But that was more modern, I think, late or early 1900s.
There's places like that are scattered all over the place. So where the Candy Claim's at happens to be in a very old mining district. And that mining district had some encampments in there. It was a pretty popular mining district. And you get in there and you see all these old rock houses. And then right across the river, here's a newer, which I think that one was a tungsten mine, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but you could see that one across the river, and that one was put together probably sometime in the 30s or 40s and ran all the way up until the 70s and shut down.
Right.
And then even some of these places you go out to, you'll run into something that would be like 1980s, where they ran a plaster mine out of it. It's just amazing where you disappear to, and then you'll see everything go through history. Probably one of the coolest stories that I can link mining to history is you've got the last stagecoach robbery of the Old West, and that happened right out here. The very last one. And here comes the new modern era. It was the very first time they ever used DNA evidence to convict them.
Well,
it's crazy, because what they did is they got the guy that had robbed the stagecoach, but because he killed the driver, he left a bloody fingerprint on one of the envelopes. So, I mean, it's crazy how you see the old era with new era all mixed in together.
Right. Well, it kind of blended in. So I got a question here from HD Shovelhead. He wants to know if you mine anything besides gold. I mean, you look for silver or gems or anything?
Yeah, exactly. We go out when we're out kind of poking around. That's what we call it, poking around out there. And we'll come across a lot of the silver mines that are out here, the old silver mines. And a lot of those places, you'll see where they had a really long, deep canyon with really steep walls. and you'll get back in there and you'll see the truffles where the ore carts used to come down off a cable all the way through it. And a lot of times you can walk up by those truffles, and because it swayed so much and it was so full of ore, you'll see ore get kicked out to the side. And a lot of times we'll go up there and check, see what's on the side of them, and you'll find some of that ore that's still there. We were out one of, I think it was Star Creek, and they had one of those systems coming down off the cables, and you can find silver ore still laying on the ground. We brought it here, crushed it up, and you can still pan it out, and it's still silver.
Let's see. Bob's in what town? He's in Tampa. Yeah, I worked a silver mill there in Austin while I was there, broke down.
Yeah, there was a lot of silver.
Yeah, this was the old Thunderbird mill, just on the outskirts of Austin on the west. Still there.
Yeah. There's still quite a bit up there, and then if you come over Austin, drop down, that'll take you on into Round Mountain down there, which is a great Smoky Valley, which you've got Round Mountain Gold, which is just a huge mine down there that's still producing. And if you go just down a little bit past that and tuck around the corner, you run right into an old placer district that's there, and that's still producing. And if you go back in there, you can find the older bottles around the corner, and you see them still working. You run right all the way up until like 60s or 70s. There's a few guys still working, smaller end of it. But yeah, there's places all over Nevada that's like that.
Yeah, I worked at Silver Mill and never got into it. I was just working for the paycheck,
Like everybody says, everybody shows up for a paycheck, right? You got to give them something.
Yeah, it wasn't until much later before I even got into any kind of prospecting at all. Mr. Tim for Gold, how are you tonight? AZ Desert Rat, hello. Got some new people just come in. Jim from Video Calling Show.
Howdy.
All right. I'll see more questions. Casey Smith.
Did you get those questions I sent you?
Did I? No. Let me see.
In the Zoom chat.
Okay.
Is Mike prospecting only for gold, or do you hunt for silver, copper, semi-precious?
I asked that.
Oh, okay. I had to go pee. Did you do that message?
American Gold Prospector wants how do you deal with big boulders?
Okay. So with the boulders that we see out here, not too horribly huge, although you get some bigger ones, look about like half the size of a Volkswagen Bug. I'm going to do that. What's it called now? Jeff Williams used it with that shock blast, so you can separate.
Sierra Blast.
Yeah, Sierra Blast.
The Sierra Blaster, yeah.
Drill them and separate them enough to break them up, and then in the underground we'll take them and bring them out, winch them up, and then set them off to the side. As long as it's a manageable piece. If not, we just drill it and blast it again.
So you break them down and be able to haul them up. Yeah, that would make sense.
They're not moving flag and bus underneath the ground.
Right. AZ Desert Rat. I've never seen that name before.
Donald Knox.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
He can't change his name like that. What the heck?
Maybe it's two channels.
Oh.
Or maybe it's his one channel. If he was hiding, he wouldn't say this is D Knox. or I'm actually D-Knock.
Oh, that's true.
So,
Well, sounds like
but it
fun,
makes
Kent.
sense, you know. Donald's from Arizona, and he's a miner, so he's a desert rat. Just like when I lived on the Colorado River, we were river rats.
Right.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with a desert rat. There's plenty of gold in the desert. Just got to work for it a little bit more.
So you use is that the only thing you use is your trauma, or do you get out in the stream there? I know your stream doesn't run all the time.
No, so at the Golden Revenge claim, what we do there is we run a dry wash.
Ah,
Run everything through a dry wash, you know, get your concentrates, and then, you know, bring that back and either run that through a trommel or just, you know, if it's small enough, run a pan and clean it out through a pan.
right.
Yeah, it's a combination, little combination of everything. That's why I love Nevada so much, is because you can come through, everybody sees sagebrush and, you know, tumbleweeds, and they just keep on driving through, and that's perfectly good to me. I can disappear back up here and go up in the creek that doesn't exist for anybody else, but I know it's there, and I can go fishing right behind the house, and no one else knows it's there. You know, that's the beauty of this place. I've always looked at Nevada like it's a treasure hunt. You know, you can find whatever you're looking for. Just got to go look for it.
Yeah, the first time I went fishing in Nevada, it was off the side of the road on this little stream, probably about 2 foot wide. Walked up about 100 yards, started climbing up, and running into these little pools. And
Yep.
the guy that was from Nevada, he says, "We'll fish this one." I'm looking at a pool that's maybe the size of a kiddie pool, you know. I go, "There's no fish in there." So yeah, he tosses, and all we were using was like a real small slip shot and a hook with a piece of worm on it. And you just throw it in that hole, and you get a little trout, little brown trouts or cutthroats. You know,
Yep.
not very big, but I'm going, where the hell they come from? Well, they're all over. The higher up we climbed, the more amazed I was that there was fish in there. Because, oh yeah, they're just. That's when He told me the reason how they get up there a lot of times is birds bringing them in. They bring the roe in on their feet, you know, ducks and stuff like that, and they drop them off. So
Yeah,
cool.
a lot of brookies. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I said, it's 5 minutes behind the house. I can disappear. There's a couple creeks back there. I've really got like the Old West. And when I say the Old West, I really mean the Old West. Literally right behind me is they used to have the stagecoach, and it's down behind the hill behind me up here, where it used to run out to Tuscarora and come back. And you know, when you're just out there looking around and be like, why, what's this rock wall here? This is a little strange. And start looking at it, and I followed it out, and it pops out over there at dinner station, and it's just like, oh, it's the stagecoach route. Right on.
Yeah. So do you metal detect?
Yes.
So that must be a fun area to metal detect around stagecoach lines and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just sometimes you get out there, and the bad thing about desert, and I'm sure you've seen it when you were in Austin, is you'll get out there, and then everybody's got to be like, I need to go to the dump, and I don't want to go to the dump. Oh, I'll just go out here and dump it, and so you end up with a bunch of trash.
Right. That's kind of all over. We find that here too.
Oh, it's really bad out here.
Right.
Out in the middle of nowheres, and here's this trash pile, or it's a trash pile from 50 years ago, and it's out there, and it's like,
Yeah, that's so bad if it's 100-year-old trash pile. There might be some treasure in that.
Oh, exactly. That's one of my favorite things to do out here is hit up some of these old mining towns and then find the trash pile where they used to dump stuff at. So a lot of times you'll find a lot of really cool old bottles that are preserved.
Right. Right.
I know I was down south working as a contractor, and I had a couple hours before I had to be at work. So we stopped in at Goldfield, and their trash piles like 4 or 5 city blocks wide. It was awesome. I'm wandering through it, just looking, and I found an old old lantern that was out there for these used for the railroad. Of course, it got a little bent up, but little cool finds like that. It's awesome to see it still exists.
Right. I love finding bottles out in the desert. You imagine how in the hell did this bottle get here? It's been here for 100 years. How did it get here in the first place?
Right.
Right. Without breaking it, I mean.
Right. That's always good when we're not broke.
Well, you look at like some of the older John Wayne movies. We used to shove freight up this hill at 100 tons of no problem. And it's like, how in the heck did you even bring out, China without breaking it,
Right.
we have a caller on the line. When he finds his mic.
Nothing but trouble. Nothing but trouble.
Nothing but trouble.
Yeah, we have Brian Wilder, American Gold Prospector, on the line. Dano, you're so good at it. Can you talk him through it? I don't know what kind of phone he's using.
Was he using his phone, is he?
I don't know.
Brian?
Okay,
Did I get in?
Yeah, I hear you.
He's got it now.
There he is.
All right.
What's up, Brian?
I figured I'd have to call in since Jesse called in.
Yeah. I didn't want to call in, but I had to. I got nothing to say tonight. So what's up, Brian?
Not much. I just wanted to ask your guest. I think I heard him say that it's mostly really fine flour gold out that way. I was just curious how he gets, how he recovers it, like final recovery. Because I know that flour gold's really hard to get out this way. I'm sure it's really hard if that's all you're getting in your pans or whatever he's doing.
Well, not all of it's super fine. It depends on where you're at. Some areas produce super fine gold with some smaller nuggets. Some areas will produce some bigger flakes that you would think like maybe small fruity pebbles or something like that. Other places produce some nuggets, and it just depends where you're at. But as far as the flour gold, yeah, I've been able to retain most of that, running it over like either a miller table or taking it and just slowly panning it out and just working it out. Because you just got plenty of time here in the winter. Once winter gets here, you've got forever.
Yeah. Long winters here too. I'm in Mass.
Yeah. So you got plenty of time, but most of the fine it comes out. It almost separates, and there are some varying differences out here where I see a lot on some of the videos where you'll end up with a lot of black sands with it.
Right.
And other places here you end up with a lot of blondes with it. So it just depends on what the area you happens to be working with. There's one spot down, I don't know, about 2 or 3 hours from here. It's all blonde sands and big gold. So who knows really exactly, but it comes and goes.
Right.
However, it's the deposit out here.
Yeah. So I kind of miss the beginning. So did you say you dig down and you're going, you're following bedrock underground and hitting the bedrock and running like old plaster? Is that what you're doing?
The one project I got, the underground, that's my Golden Revenge. And the gold out there in this area precipitates out and is concentrated at or in bedrock. And when I say that, it's usually the top 6 inches that you'll start seeing really good concentration. You can see it all the way up to 3 feet above bedrock. It's smaller fly poop size. You get closer to the bottom, it starts getting a little bit more chunkier, and then you get some of the bigger, chunkier stuff in the foot or two of bedrock.
Yeah, so you must find some good stuff in the cracks, I bet.
I wish it was like where you go in and go crevicing. That way you could possibly see it. The cracks in here are some really fine cracks in some upturned shale. So it's really hard to see anything in it because it's all smushed together really good. But when you go through and break it apart and then, sweep it all up, clean it up, vacuum it up, put it in a pan, pull out your big rocks, and all of a sudden you got a big pile of gold there, and you're like, where did this come from? I didn't see anything.
So a lot of that gold is down in those little minute cracks that you really don't see. So you're breaking up bedrock for what you say, 6 inches or so? What?
6 inches to a foot, somewhere's in there. It's where it's setting at. I've seen it go to where it's a foot and a half, 2 feet deep. Depending on how big the cracks are.
Wow. So are you mostly using by hand, or do you have like heavy machinery, or?
No heavy machinery. I need to avoid the BLM as much as possible. So we've been doing it, and that way it doesn't require bonds and stuff like that. So,
Right.
just small shaft, dig down, and then, it's kind of like if you've watched any of Jeff Williams' underground things, I modeled mine after his.
Right. So
a few changes, and it's just working off that basis.
a lot of battery powered air hammers or tools and small compressors.
I run a small generator, I run a hammer drill, break everything up, shovel it into a bucket, put a little winch system above the top of the shaft. My buddy Rick, he's the one that actually comes out and helps me. I seen him in here earlier. He mans the top side for me, and I'm in there just, slaving away at the bottom.
So we have an open invitation there anytime we're in northern Nevada, huh?
Oh yeah, come on down.
Oh, cool. I have to plan
cool.
Another place on our go-to list.
That's on the way out to California.
While we're in California, we can do a trip.
There you go, group trip.
How about snakes down there? I know Nevada's got a lot of those snakes. You ever find those down in there?
Everybody says there's always a lot of snakes out here, and certain areas have them. Where I happen to live at, I've been here 25, 30 years, thereabouts, because I grew up in the same area I have my house in, and I've only seen 2 snakes in the area where I live at. You go back up to the creek, you run into some water snakes here and there. You go across the river on the other side, and it's loaded with rattlesnakes. I've only seen 1 rattlesnake out since I've been here, and me and my son were fishing down along the river, and we kicked one up, and he said, "Oh, Dad, there's a snake," and I'm like, "Where? Oh, crap! It's right almost on my leg." So.
Oh man! Wow, lucky.
Yeah, he caught that one good, and then we had a shooting competition, and if he tells you the story, he shot it from 1,000 yards away, right dead in the eye,
Well, hell of a shot.
2 feet away, but
That's cool. So did I hear you're just mining volcanic vents, or are you up on like an old river bench, or?
There are some river benches out here. Most of this is a deposit that's been created with some kind of quartz, that small stringers in the rocks that's broken down and had some kind of alluvial deposit or eluvial, depending on where you're at. But my normal job is I actually work at one of the bigger gold mines out here. If you haven't got a chance to watch the video I did, I released Sunday, we went through the mine that I happen to work at and explained the whole entire process of the Carlin Trend deposit, where it's all microscopic gold that's trapped in the rocks from geothermal deposits.
Yeah. Isn't that what that huge like open pit mine they have in Nevada is? Just super microscopic, but they're like the biggest producers of gold in I think of all of America, I believe.
Yes. But it's not just one. Everybody thinks it's one out here. There's 2 really big companies out here. One is Newmont and the other is Barrick, and they probably control 80% of the playing field. They just did a little merger a while back on some of their properties that's now called the Nevada Gold Mines, where they're working together and trying to cut costs on stuff. Then you got the other 20%, which is some of the smaller mines in the area that are working these same deposits, but these deposits are huge. There's one that the main one where Newmont that everybody sees is that big pit or
Right.
big company. The big one out there is out by Carlin, and that area there was the start of the Carlin trend. Then as they've discovered it and worked it and understood it, they've found a few more deposits, and these things have to run in really long lines. The newest one is the Long Canyon Carlin trend deposit, and that happens to run, what is it, about 80 miles from where I'm at, and it runs from there almost all the way up to past where I work at. So they're huge deposits.
Wow.
But when you run across them, you never know it because it just looks like a rock.
Yeah.
So those larger mining companies, they use the chemical processing, right? Or do they smelt it all, or what?
Yeah, what they do is they go out there and they'll go mine the actual material out. Once they get it out, they'll either use two processes. One's either heap leach, where they've kind of broken it down a little bit when they did the blast, pile it in a big pallet, soak it down with a cyanide solution, and then they'll leach the gold out of it that way, and then send it off to their processing plant. Or where I happen to work out, they actually, and a lot of the other places do that too, they'll mill it down to where it's a powder and send it into CIL tanks where it leaches the gold out, and then they send that to a tailings pond.
Well, that sounds real familiar to me. That's why they do the silver there too.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of, I know Newmont, when they have the big mining expo out here every year, they always bring in top. And it's not 100% gold because it contains silver in it too. So you'll see them, looks like a white gold that they bring in.
Wow.
But the amount of gold that they actually produce is just, I mean, for any small scale miner to even fathom the amount of gold, it's just unreal.
Well,
So,
first, like I was saying earlier, first you got to pay them the amount of money it's going to take you to get that gold.
well, exactly.
You know,
There's a lot of manpower, a lot of time, just ungodly amounts of money to get an operation off the ground. And then I know out here, if it's a new project, it's usually, I think it's a 6 or 7 year, don't quote me on it, but it's a 6 or 7 year process that the BLM goes through, whether the proving permits and everything else to get it going.
wow. So you might be better off just being a small scale miner and and avoiding all those permits and BLM
Exactly.
regulations. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Get that, make that gram a day.
Hide underground.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them out here, they'll come in and if you follow any of the geology, and I have to give Jeff Williams props because when he does his little geology classes, he does really well on it and explains it very well.
Mm-hmm.
Volcanic vents out here are dikes, and that with the up movement of the mountain building process, you'll get these small drafts where these dikes will come in, and for some reason, the gold just floats right along with it really good. So you'll be wandering around on top of the surface, don't think there's anything there, and then if you're underground, all of a sudden there's these, they kind of look like a really long stretched out football, and it's just this dike that starts out kind of like a quartz vein, but they'll come in and right up against that contact zone between the two, you'll end up with the gold just depositing right in through there.
Yeah, our buddy Chef Barry says, he wants to know if you need a can't cook.
Oh, you can always use a can't cook.
Yeah, for Nevada information, he says. He's living in Nevada now.
Yeah, Chef is was one of the first people that kind of followed me along, and I tell you what, if that ever comes to that point, I will let you know. You'll be the first one.
Food is better than gold.
Yeah.
Especially when you're hungry.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so here's a little bit of gold porn, although you'll think I'm a little crazy. This is war that is the geothermal deposit. And hopefully you guys can see this right here. This is just a tiny little piece that the deposit's in, and you look at it and it's nothing but a stupid rock. But when you break it down, do your fire assays over it, all of a sudden you end up with some gold in it. It's just absolutely crazy.
Awesome.
So what? There's how much gold in there?
Oh, this little tiny rock probably has 0.002 of a gram in it or something like that. But when you bring it down 100 tons at a time, or 150 tons, or even like Cortez, where they're running the big 400-ton trucks, it adds up quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say you need a lot of those rocks. But
Yeah,
they're small rocks, so you know.
It's exactly it. I mean, once you get to that point where it's just, there's, hey, I got gold right here, there it is, but
Yeah, you can't see it, but it's there.
it's almost pointless.
So are you familiar with the geothermal gold? Because I heard in Rich Hill that's how they got their gold up on Rich Hill in Arizona, and they have huge, like almost pure 999 like nuggets of gold, and it's all way on top of the hill, and it was all put there by a geothermal vent.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, like how come some vents might produce nuggets and some vents might produce like micro or
It just depends on what your geology ends up being. For example, let's go to the California for that thought. And when you look at the California and how it was developed, it was that slamming up like this, plate after plate after plate, and giving you that buckle zone where it gives you that space where the quartz and whatnot could flow up into it and create those veins in there, which deposited out some material. And when you get those geothermals, depending on the host material, you'll get it to where there's little specks or little pockets within that rock that the geothermal heat and pressure can push up that dissolved solution into those rocks and give you that microscopic geothermal, or you can get that huge flow in that just gives you that pocket that will actually float open and give you that quartz and gold matrix mix.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because I went to Arizona once, and there was a guy up there. He was metal detecting. He was using the MineLab 7000, and he was up there just doing like a cleanup, like after they mined up there with the machinery. He sent him in, and he was pulling out just big nuggets. He showed me in his hand. It was like almost like silver dollar pancake sized nuggets, and he was like, "This gold here is like extremely pure. It's like there was barely anything like mixed in with it, like with rocks or whatever." I don't know much about the geothermal, but that was really, really cool for him to explain like how it all worked up there and everything.
I don't know how many of you guys follow Gold Rush, but Dave Turin's group, Jason Sanchez, he actually has a mine where he's like got a spot like that where it produces those really big nuggets out there like that, and it's like source nuggets that just huge. But then you also get those river channels that have brought gold, those ancient river channels that have brought gold down, where it's nuggets that are rounded all the way around it.
Right.
KC's not. He's near you, isn't he?
Casey's down in Arizona.
Oh, he's in Arizona. I thought he had a place up in. Doesn't he have a claim in Nevada?
No, Casey Morgan's claims in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
They were on Lynx Creek, I think, right?
Okay, right. Okay.
But,
so many gold shows, I get them mixed up.
Yeah, he was down on Lynx Creek in Arizona
Okay.
last time.
Yeah, on KT down there, you've got Chris. He's got his claim, which is like the next canyon over from mine.
Okay, that's Chris. Chris
yeah,
has
Chris.
it. Okay.
Yeah, and then if the following is then Jason's place is across the river.
Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's like when that all went down, I was already out there looking at another spot on the other hillside, and I was talking to my buddy Joel, and he's like, "Yeah, so I'm going over here doing this." Like, "Oh, cool! While you're out here, you come over here and take a look at this spot and tell me what you think." So.
Oh, that's cool.
Hey, Patrick Moore.
So can you take us through like a average day when you decide to go out and get into the mine? So you get in there and you jackhammer, you get your ore, and do you crush it, or how do you process it?
Okay, so if everything's in a perfect scenario, and I have to frame it in that aspect, go out to the mine, get everything set up, which takes roughly about an hour-ish or so. Once you get everything set up and everything's running, then go on into the shaft itself, and then start hammering out with the hammer drill, breaking the material loose. And as we're doing that, Rick's up top, and I'm like, okay, hey, look, we're looking for decent material. Go ahead and sample this stuff and see where we're at. He'll run a pan or two and see where we're at. And he says, yeah, it's good or it's not good. Whereas right now, it's mostly not good. I think
I've been through those days.
But I mean, that's one of the things that to me is people are like, well, there's nothing there, so why are you digging there? Or I've had a couple questions like, it's all angular rock, why are you digging there? And it just happens to be there. I can't say that it is or it isn't, but it's just there.
I've always found gold exactly where I thought it would never be.
Exactly. So we'll go down through, dig it out, run it, test it as we're going through it. And if we do come across something that does have gold in it, then we'll start taking that and putting it to the side, and then bring that to the house and then process it here out at the house.
Yeah. So how do you do it when you bring it home? Do you use a gold cube or like a recirculating sluice, or?
Most of it you would dry wash it out there.
You dry wash?
You can't dry wash it.
Cool.
Yeah, you can run a dry washer through the summer months and even into late spring and early fall, or maybe even late fall, depending on the moisture content.
Yep.
And then take your concentrates, bring them home. You can run through a pan or run a pan out there, just depending on how gold hungry you are.
Did you make your own dry washer, or do you have like a Keen, or?
No, I bought a Keen. A Keen. It's just we bought a first one that was great going out and doing some testing and whatnot with, but we actually decided that I was going to buy a Keen, and that's how I actually met Rick. Is we're going to buy a dry wash from him. It's a little bit bigger. It was the 150, or what is it? What the hell's that big one about? Can't remember what it was. But he had the really big one, and we're like, oh yeah, that'd be great. We can just pile the stuff in there, and it didn't quite work out like that. So we ended up with
buckets in
40. Yeah, but the 140 does great, and it works the material out really quick. So
have you seen the dry washer that they use in Australian show?
On that big mobile unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just insane. I had a guy a while back asking me to build him something kind of similar to that. Something enough to take like a bobcat and be able to dump onto it, and then run through some sluices. Something he's seen on a video in Arizona.
And your thoughts?
On that big dry wash?
Yeah, I mean, is that something that you might be interested in building for yourself?
Something that big. I mean, okay. So when you run a sluice, you can do really good retention with a sluice if you got your sluice set up right, you got your angles right, you got the water flow right. Everything's
Right.
really good. You get like that really good 95, 96% retention on it. When you start running a dry wash, if you got everything dialed in perfect, you might hit 75% at best.
Oh.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Yeah, it
that's-
really cuts it way down. But I mean, if the gold's there at some point, if you're running it slow, I mean, you can get it up to that 80, 85%. But then you're spending a lot more time trying to process everything, and it
Did
just
you think
depends.
about recirculating, like a recirculating sluice, or is that just not possible where you are?
No, actually, the trommel I built, I don't know if you guys seen the video where I put the trommel together. The trommel idea was developed after I worked at one of the plaster mines that was out here. They had this huge trommel, and I'm like, man, that thing is awesome. I love watching it run.
Oh yeah, that's my dream.
Well, no one had to babysit it, and I was like, that's what I need to do, because the little wash plant I did have before, it was me, shoveling, putting material in. One of my kids at one end, one of my kids at the other end, and they're raking rocks off application, and it's just like, yeah, this is just not going to work, especially once they grow up and they go on about their business. So I was like, yeah, let me get something I don't have to babysit. So I decided to build that trommel, and then as things were working, I started realizing that I was getting away from the water and more into the desert. And I was like, man, I gotta come up with something that I could still run a recirculating unit. So my idea was after that to build a sand screw, which basically augers the sand up out of it and leaves the water behind, and then you can
Right.
recirculate that, so you're constantly washing and not really using a lot of water, and then have a water flow where you can put stuff back into it as you're using it up.
Yeah, I think Alan has no, not Alan. Who was it? So somebody has a recirculator that
Yeah, I
takes.
think Alan down there in Arizona.
Is it Alan?
I believe it is.
Where he's
Yeah,
got a recirculating tank that runs it through another like small trommel, or it takes out some of the.
It's a small setup of a sand screw where it actually drives the sand and the material out, so
Right.
that you still have your water. The only problem is once you start doing that, you end up with this silt, and that was the biggest problem that killed us at the last mine I worked at. Is you get this silt that would land in your water and just turn it to muck.
Right.
This nice, beautiful water pond out there that looks great, and literally, if you toss a rock in, you watch a big old mud puddle come up.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to be able to get the muck off of there too, and that's where a settling tank helps, that you can go through and remuck it out every once in a while.
Right.
Yeah, I went to Arizona a couple of years ago and tried trommeling for the first time. It was a very small, like homemade trommel, but we set up 3 cattle tanks, and we had like a PVC pipe going to each one. And the first tank, we had a screen that came off the sluice, so all that big kind of gritty stuff, it would fall right on the screen, and we would just chuck it off, and then the silt would go in the first tank, and then it would go to the second tank and the third tank, and on the third tank is where we had the pump going back up, to recirculate
it back in.
And that worked pretty good for small scale. I'm sure you're doing much bigger than what we were doing, but
well, even at the mine I was at, we were running probably between 450, 600 tons a day, and they had
that's a lot.
The same kind of setup, but they had their ponds where they ran it. I think it was a series of 4 ponds, and these ponds were roughly half a football field size.
Wow.
Each one, and they just run these ponds, and then of course the bottom line can go in and muck the pond out,
right.
and be able to keep recirculating the water.
Yeah.
Digologist, what's the best setup for a beginner prospector?
Boy, is that a loaded question.
Yeah, no doubt.
Run
Where
away.
at? What kind of material? Are you gonna prospect hard rock or placer? Um,
How much work you willing to put into it? You know,
right. Fair weather armchair, or heads and heels all shovel and get up.
yeah. How much money you got to spend? All that stuff makes a difference on how you set yourself up for gold prospecting or gold mining.
It'd be placer, river,
Yeah,
flower
right.
gold. So
If I was doing something like that, I'd run something like maybe a high banker or a
I
small.
start off with a pan.
Well, if you're going, you're going to go. I should say if you're going to go all in, that's the thing because I've never like commercial. I'm always all in or not. But when you go all in, you got to remember to have some kind of deep pocket.
Right.
Because it's going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I would run some kind of blues or maybe a high baker or something like that to start out with so you can process that material because once you see that little bit of gold coming out and depends on how fast you get that gold fever, depends on how fast you're going to
Right. So
First day out, you'll get the gold fever.
Right. So here's a formula. If you've got money, you got time, and you want to spend all day doing it, and spend weeks at a time doing it, might as well go out and buy yourself a nice dredge and just start dredging. That'd be your setup.
Well,
just start dredging.
That all depends on where you're at. I think you guys can run dredges back there, correct?
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so like out here we can run a dredge, but only up to 3 inch. I know in Oregon, which I'm still trying to edit the video on that. Went up last weekend with the in-laws, and we had like a kind of pre-Thanksgiving dinner thing going down. And we went up there and ran on the rivers. And in Oregon, in any of the salmon habitat, you're not allowed to dredge. You can't hide.
Right.
Flues to pan. So it all depends on where you're at, what you're allowed to do. But I'm stupid enough that I'll push all the way until right to that limit that I
take it to the limit.
Oh yeah, and then some.
Yeah. No, not then some. You don't say that.
Oh yeah, okay. That's private messaging.
Right. Yeah, Patrick Moore says they go up to a 5-inch in Indiana.
Right.
Yeah,
4-inch here in Ohio.
Yeah, it's
None
pretty much 4
in
inch in the Northeast.
Pennsylvania. Or it's not worth the hassle in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, right.
No gold in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, no gold in Nevada, none at all.
Well, we hear that about Utah a lot, don't we, Mr. Lodat?
All the gold's in Utah.
Yeah, Brian, right. All the gold.
Digologist, to answer your question, you're going to not be rich doing this, unless you hit the mother load on your first try.
Depends what you call rich or wealthy.
True.
Friend.
Well, he says he wants to make money. He says.
Oh, well, sell equipment to the miners.
Yeah, there you go. Mine the miners if you want to make money.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect example. You guys have seen it on Facebook. Why does a guy buy a $1,500 truck loaded up with $10,000 worth of equipment, drive 800 miles one way to go get $50 worth of gold?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the formula.
There ain't no cure.
There's always that one chance. When I was up there in Oregon, I stopped at Armadillo Mining Company, and the guy I was talking to, his name's Richard.
Rich Webster?
Maybe I can't remember.
Yeah, he's always hanging out there. He was on Gold Rush Whitewater.
No. This guy here, I know he's dating the girl that runs the store.
Oh,
But he, that's total train wreck there. I just totally lost my.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Adam.
Yeah.
Up, Adam.
yeah. Richard at I don't know the Richard I know. He's always hanging out at Armadillo Mining, and that's how he got the job over at Whitewater because Fred Hurt kept on going into that shop and kept begging him to go on a show, and he's like, nah. And then finally he kind of gave in. But
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Now, yeah, him and his brother, they make mining equipment also.
No, if that's what I'll get that. Train of thoughts back. Okay, so
Okay.
he was telling me about this guy that was digging his trench, and he spent like 3 years just working on this area, trenching and find a few specks here and there and nothing. And he was like right at the point of giving up, and then all of a sudden, bam, there it is, a 7x7 area, he had 170 ounces.
geez.
Nice. Hey, there's, and that's
Or
the thing
no.
that keeps me going.
That's a
You
payday.
know, that's
You
what
never
keeps me going about it. You never know. I'm gonna
It-
find my softball-sized nugget here in Ohio.
right? You never
You know?
know.
You never know.
It's like, or it's like gambling or playing cards. You never know what that next little bit's going to be.
Right.
You
Right.
know, that next cast could be that next big fish or that next pull of the arm. That might be your jackpot, or you just never know. The next shovel that you put in, that might be the gold. And like even some of the mines I worked at, man, we processed so many buckets of dirt, testing. And
Yeah.
I know area we tested, and we must have tested 20 buckets in it. And the last bucket, bam, there it is.
There it
Oh my
is. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That's why I like that phrase. A foot from $1 million or a million feet from $1.
Exactly.
That's mining.
Yep.
That's exactly it. So
Must be amazing to get nuggets. I don't know. Is it, Brian?
Oh man, there's nothing like it.
I'm sure. I can't wait to find my nugget.
Oh yeah, no, they're out there. You just
It's there.
you
I'm
gotta
gonna
go to
find
the bottom, and in the bedrock cracks deep in there, break them
Yeah.
up, and you'll see nuggets, guaranteed.
yeah, I mean, out here, that some of it lands on top of the false bedrock, which is the caliche. Some of it's underneath the caliche. Some of it's in the caliche. I mean,
Right.
one of the smaller pieces or smaller nuggets that I found, it was on top of clay in the topsoil within, I don't know, 18 inches. I was out running material that day. It was up by Tuscarora, and it came out. Clinkety clink, here it is. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That made my day.
Yeah, like California Gold Rush, our buddy Adam, he says, thing about gold is once you find a 1 ounce nugget, the 2 ounce ones are the ones you want. You're never looking for that 1 ounce one anymore. You're looking for the 2 ounce ones.
Yeah, that's my
Yep.
goal this year is find a 1 ouncer.
Oh, I thought you had one. Didn't you find one?
No, I found a 3rd ounce. That's my biggest.
Oh, okay. Huh.
I would take that and I would see you.
So I heard you talk a little bit about detectors earlier. Did you say you detect in your area, or is it not really worth it?
Yeah.
Or
I do some detecting. More of the I do detecting more of the relic side with a little bit of chasing around
Okay.
after some nuggets.
do you
The
like
guy
in
that helps
old West
out
towns?
out at the mine, Rick Heron, he does a lot more metal detecting than I do, insurmountable amounts more than I do. And the guy is really, really good at it. And he finds nuggets quite often.
Really?
But as for me, I tend to dig in the dirt and play in the dirt, and I'll chase the smaller deposits because I know how to work those better.
Right. Yes. Same
Me,
here. I only find bottle caps.
I get on the river and I talk.
So what kind of detector do you like using?
I've got a gold bug that I use. I also got a white, I believe it's a GMT, but MXC. I think it's an MXC. But most of that is like I'm chasing like the relics down, hoping to maybe hit an old coin or maybe something really cool other than tin, which is really prevalent everywhere.
Bullets. I'm sure
Tin
bullets are big
cans.
out there.
Bullets. It's you get in some of these older mining camps or old railroad towns, and out here the building materials were slim and few, far between. So when they're building their mining shacks, they get some kind of wood somehow, some way, put it together, and then for waterproofing, they'd actually literally cut the tin apart out of the can and then nail that up and then put it together like shingles.
Oh,
And then
really? That's
when
really
these
neat.
buildings come down, that tin gets washed into the dirt and everywhere.
Right. Yeah. What kind of relics have you found?
Probably the coolest one I found. I did a video a while back on Palisades, which is an old railroad town, and I found an old clay marble, which was pretty cool.
Really?
Nice.
It was a clay marble. I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow.
Then some of the other stuff, if you go out, it's just so hard to be able to find any really good relics because of the tin itself, because everything was covered in tin. Every place
Really?
you go, that was their waterproofing, covered in tin, and then if that building
bad?
comes in, it's just nothing but junk everywhere. And of course, if you get a mining town, you get away from that. Everybody had canned food, so you find cans that are literally disintegrated, and every little signal you're chasing is some kind of rotted tin or steel. So,
Jeez. Do you ever find any coins or anything?
no, I have not found any coins out yet.
No.
Yeah, like
Keep
I said,
looking.
Yeah,
most
keep
of
looking.
well, I did find one that was pretty cool, and this was pretty cool. Like the first time I went out to Tuscarora, we was out. I was out with my son, and first time I'd been out there, so I wasn't exactly sure of the area where we're at. And we ended up back around the front side. We were poking around this creek, and I got this really good signal. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get some gold. That's what it's gold. And as we started digging it up, and I was like, I'm down a good foot, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I finally dug it out, and it was this. It looked like an ankh at first, but without the cross pieces. And I was like, what the hell is this? And you could tell it was definitely fashioned in a blacksmith area where they took it and wrapped some brass wire to hold it together. And then after seeing this, that other people have done, I found that it was an old candle holder they put inside the mine. It was
Oh.
I lost him.
That's what we
Yeah.
found out there, and it was pretty cool.
Came back.
Yeah. We
Kind of
just
lost
missed
you a
all
little
that.
bit. But was it did you say you found like a lantern for a mine? Like a candle lantern?
Yeah.
Yeah, you broke up for a little bit there.
It was a candle piece.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
sweet. That would have been really cool.
The type you
Yeah,
nail
it was
into
really
the...
cool when we actually looked at it. It was you couldn't tell at first, and then once I actually seen a couple more of them, you could see the shape of the top end where they put their finger in and stick it, and then it was right at the base. They wrapped wire brass around it to hold it together, and then of course it was stuck out about yay far that they would actually stick that part into the wood to hold the candles up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very cool.
It was a pretty cool find. That was probably my best find that I found, but for years I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a tent stake because that's what it looked like. And I was like, why in the hell would anybody make a tent stake like that?
Wow. That's cool.
So yeah, we're planning a trip out to California here in the spring. I think it's going to be in the spring.
I thought it was going to be more
Oh,
like...
fall. Oh, fall. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
When the
Yeah.
rivers are down, my friend, when the rivers are down.
Right.
I was out there.
Nah, but I'd love to get back to Nevada again.
I was out there when the rivers were kind of up, and when you were down by the river, you felt the river.
Yeah, I
No,
get
that's
it
cool.
when they're down and water's down and warm.
Yep.
Right.
Might have to ship a wetsuit and mask out to Todd.
Hell,
Do
we're
some
from Ohio. We can
sniping.
put on a pair of shorts and jump in. We can take it.
Yeah.
Just need
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
wetsuit
Barry.
heater.
Well, that's the one thing I can tell you guys when you do come out that way. The one spot that I had the claim in up north from here, I would always wait until at least June 15th to go out, because most of the snow had melted off and you could get out there, and I wouldn't get in the water until July 15th because it was still so cold, and you were good for maybe about an hour, and that was it.
Well, that's all snow runoff, snow melt, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it
what do you
stays
think-
cold most of the year round.
What do you
I wouldn't
think comes
suspect
off
it to
the
get up above
Sierras?
45 degrees.
You have a lot
that's
of
like,
snow melt and spring water coming off the Sierras. I don't know about you, Dano. You might be able to bareback it just fine, big guy. But me, I'll take a wetsuit, at least 3 mil or something.
We'll smear you in bear grease. It'll be all right.
Well, if we're going there when the water's low, I'll just stay out of the water and just hit some cracks and crevices on the bank.
Well, yeah, that's what I would definitely hit, those cracks and crevices any day of the week.
Yeah.
Well, I know this. I'm taking I'm taking my Goldbug Pro. That's that or my Knox 800.
Something, huh?
Something.
I just got to get a little coil for it.
I have the small coil for my Goldbug Pro, so I'd probably go with that anyway.
Those smaller coils seem to do a lot better at detecting the metal out here or getting the gold out here versus the bigger coils.
Yeah.
I've been looking. I'm waiting to get enough money saved up and buy one. I think one for mine's like $160 some.
Yeah. For yours?
Yeah, for mine for the 800.
What do you got, Dano?
A Knox 800.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You can interchange coils on those.
Yeah.
Yeah, go down to a 6-inch coil. They sell them for them.
Oh, cool.
Now out there, you about need a small coil. You get down by the river like that, and it's really jagged. You got to be able to fit it in there.
Yeah, yeah.
I say a pinpointer would be good if you're just cleaning cracks. To sit there and run that pinpointer up and down the cracks while you're cleaning.
I would think so. That's what David Villa says too. Pinpointers cover more cracks underwater. Okay.
Right.
Here's a little thing with the pinpointers. Rick pointed out to me, like one of the videos a while back, we did a pinpointing tip, and he's got a fairly decent sized little nugget, not huge, but probably a half a pea or something like that. And we took those pinpointers, and he was showing me, how hard it is to just pick a nugget up like that. And he's literally bouncing the pinpointer off the nugget and rolling it off, and it's still not going off. And it finally went off. And he says, I mean, without a really big target, it's hard for those pinpointers to even pick them out.
I've played with the pinpointers, both my Garrett and my who makes the Simplex? Those guys.
Now my Mind Lab one's pretty sensitive. You can actually turn the sensitivity up on it from 1 to like 6.
I can do that with my Nokia too, or Nokia.
If it picks
whatever.
up the staples and screws in my knee, and it ain't supposed to do that.
Oh yeah, I got the Garrett, and same thing. You can adjust the sensitivity and goes underwater and all that.
Right.
So, but wouldn't you want, if you're using a pinpointer, wouldn't you be more looking for spots with a lot of metal in it? Looking for those spots where all the materials gathering, lead, the
Well, yeah,
steel,
like we
if
do
you
here, Jesse.
right,
We use our
that's how I would
pinpointers to
use it.
look for like man-made heavy indicators in
Right,
fallout areas. But
right.
if you want a good nugget machine, pinpointer type, the MD20 by Falcon,
Right.
it's good for even small gold.
Oh, that thing does
the
micro
MD20 is a
gold.
lot better.
I've seen that Falcon in action, and wow, that thing picks up the smallest little tiny pieces of gold.
I almost bought one of those when I first got into doing this, but
yeah, those are like extremely tedious. But like I've seen that thing in work in like a quartz vein along the river there, and from a geologist, and that thing really works. It gets like the tiniest little smallest piece of gold. I would never use one, but it was pretty cool to see.
It could be really handy if you're
Right.
crevicing and stuff. You do a lot of sniping too, Brian. So
yeah, to tell you the truth, I mean, I don't use pinpointers. I any crack I open up. I spray a 1-inch like power washer line into there, and I just spray it out and break it, and I clean every single crack I come across.
You're a dredging machine, dude.
right.
And that's where the gold is. It's down there. It's down in the cracks. I mean,
Good to be young and retired, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. Gold Pro Unlimited wants to know if anybody tried the gold spear. I don't know what that is.
heard of that.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that.
Is that like what Kent Flackler has? Is it a long range
gold spear
detector? Oh no, the gold spear, it has a point. I used to see them a long time ago, and you shove it. It's like a grounding rod, I think, with a sensor on it, and you can push it into the gravels. I haven't seen that in any of the magazines for a long time. Let me look. I haven't seen that in a while.
I know which one it is. Now I know what it is. It's a probe.
Yeah, it is like a probe. I just had to. It was like a light went off in my head. Bing! Oh, I remember those things. I thought they were, from the ads and stuff, it looked like you almost had to touch the gold. And
yeah, right. Kent uses an electroscope.
Electroscope. That's what Kent uses.
I never heard of that one. What's that one?
Oh,
it's a long-range detector. Actually,
electronic. What are those rods you use?
It's not much. It's kind of like dowsing rods. But
yeah, electronic dowsing rods.
The Colorado gold sticks are actually electronic dowsing rods. Those electroscopes, they're a long-range type singular dowsing rod with a bunch of antennas on it. Stuff. I've seen Kent use it, and Ben Shears uses them, and they don't do too bad,
Dick Goldsmith has one, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, I never heard of those.
Yeah, GoPro Unlimited says, it makes contact. You have to make contact with the gold.
And just pick it up.
Now, if you're interested in one, go to Two Brothers Prospecting or contact Kent Flackler on Facebook, Brian, and he can hook you up with several different models. Remember,
that's all set.
I
only pick up the ones I can see. I'm all set with the microscopic stuff. I throw that stuff back.
Oh yeah, I was gonna mention that to you, Brian. You need to send me a medium-sized box of the stuff you throw back.
No, I'm a firm believer. I honestly, I all the little fine stuffs in there, I just throw that right back in the river. I don't believe in taking everything. I don't know. It kills me when I see people take every little speck.
And
I always like
That's
I'll
all
take
we
all the
get is
pickers
little
and nuggets
sticks.
and all the stuff that goes up in the stuffer bottle, and then I always at the end of every single day, I always throw all the small back right back in the river. It just makes me feel a lot better, and honest to God, I think I get way more gold because of that.
We threw it back, we would get nothing.
No kidding.
Because I mean, all that micro stuff. I mean, you're looking at like $2. I mean, give the river back her $2. It's no big deal.
That's all she gave me. That's all she gave me.
Yeah,
So,
we load up $10,000 or $5,000 worth of equipment in a 20,000 truck and get $3 worth of gold.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of days I only get $2 worth of gold. I throw it back.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that kills me is to go out and just bust your hump and come up with a couple flakes and you're like, that
Yeah,
didn't pan out very well.
Yeah, well, that's
happened to me a
different
lot.
story.
And there's some days that you just kill it though, so it kind of equals out.
Yes, it does.
Geologist, no, it will not grow if you throw it back.
Exactly.
It doesn't
You
grow.
already worked for it. You might as well keep it.
That's what I say. But when you're used to nuggets and pickers and stuff, I guess little stuff doesn't thrill you. I know Ron was that way. Ron Harrison. Yeah, he threw the little stuff back because he was used to Colorado gold,
Yeah, maybe it's just different because where I am, it's mostly like little nuggets and pickers.
Right. See, it's not like that here. So yeah.
So
Sorry.
We poop an occasional flake.
Yeah. I know you hate us now, Brian, because we don't throw nothing back. But like I said, if she only gives me $2, I ain't throwing it back.
Nah, I guess I'm just spoiled.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't feel
and
no
like-
guilt whatsoever.
Right. Well, like
I
Adam
do.
said earlier, when you find that 1 ounce nugget, you're not gonna look for another ounce nugget. You're gonna look for a 2 ounce nugget. You
Yeah,
start
exactly.
throwing
found
the
a
1 ounce
huge
nuggets back
nugget.
because it's too small.
I found
Right,
a
right.
huge nugget decades ago, and I've been searching for one at least its size ever since, and none yet.
Yeah.
But I'm not
No, I hear
giving
you.
up.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
not
not giving
giving
up.
up.
That's for sure. I'm not giving up till at least find a 1 ouncer.
Yeah, when you find that 1 ounce, your next goal will be 2 ounces, and that 1
Oh,
ounce will seem so small.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Right.
Then he won't quit till he finds that. Then so
No doubt
on
about
and
that.
so on and so on.
I guarantee you, if I find that softball sized nugget, I will be quitting. Nah, not true.
Uh-oh.
Rick Harris says he's looking for his 1 pound nugget.
Well, we're coming back.
Knowing Rick,
Okay.
he'd probably find it too.
Well, good
Back
luck.
on.
I hope he does find it.
Oh, they're out there. There's no doubt about it.
Yep, I
I'd
believe
put
that.
money on it.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
they're out
they're out
there. But there's more fine gold, flour gold than
Right.
anything else.
Right. If you got the equipment to get super fine gold, you can make a way more than the guys that are getting the bigger stuff,
Well, that's exactly it. If you look at some of the gold rush stuff, the only one that seems to be doing anything with nuggets is Rick right now, but most of it's all pretty much fines and flour,
Right.
Right.
and they're just piling it up as much as they can, and I'll take flour, nuggets, more
Right,
flour. I don't care as long as it adds up on the scale. I'm good and happy.
That's right.
Right. Exactly. Now, if you're doing it for a living, the smaller stuff's probably the better way to go, and just get efficient with recovering that, because that's the
Right.
way,
If you're doing it for a living, like you said,
the bigger stuff is extremely rare. It doesn't matter where you are. You get the bigger pickers, the bigger nuggets and everything, that's pretty rare. No matter where you are, Alaska or, California.
Sure.
That's always the key right there. It's rare, and some people just show it off like, oh, I got this one, I got that one. It's
Right.
never like that. I've never understood that fact. It's like sometimes you have gold porn that's great. And most of the time it's
Exactly.
like, hey, I got 3 specks today. Yes.
No, if you're doing it to feed your family, it's you're better off getting that little stuff and really processing it, and you know.
The only nuggets I have were actually given to me, so I can't even found a nugget yet. You know. Although I did find 4 pickers in Ohio one year.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
That's
I only
cool.
got one of them though.
I have the opposite problem. There's only nuggets and pickers where I
Yeah.
am.
Oh, gee, bummer.
There's like no flour. Oh yeah, that's right. There's no. I was in Utah.
Bedrock Bennett says my biggest piece is 29.8 grams. Not quite make an ounce, but
Wow,
I still pick up fly poop on a daily basis.
that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful piece there.
Bennett gets the gold. That man works hard, buddy. He's up down that river like no tomorrow.
I called Bedrock Bennett for no reason.
He works for that gold, boys. I can tell you.
Hey,
from
Benzo.
experience, he does her.
Oh yeah.
That was mine line. I had to dive in for his crevice tool and all. That was a chilly dive for him there. The mine in Hawaiian.
Oh, I got mine. I got to make videos this summer for sure.
All right.
I got one of the limited edition red ones. He got a red one.
I got a red one. Yep. I got that in September.
I don't even have a red one, Brian.
Yeah, I'll definitely put those in the videos coming up for sure.
I'm still eating on that maple syrup I got from the other fellas. That stuff's excellent, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, how about say if he won $1 million, what would he go do prospecting? Like, what's his ultimate dream with prospecting?
Oh, that's a tough one. If I had $1 million to blow,
say 2 million, 3 million, would you go big scale with all the cat machines and the big trommels, or?
Of course he would.
I'd probably fight with myself for a couple days over it, whether I'd want to go out and go do some small scale prospecting and fishing along the way, you know, just traveling around all over the Western United States, or actually go big scale. And I'd probably beat myself up and try to do both at the same time.
No, I like where you are, traveling around and looking for gold. That would be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be more fun than putting it all down on a big scale mining operation and working, because you'd have to work.
Well,
some people would like to buy boats.
It always feels like work, all the way up until that last instance when you're doing your final cleanup and there is just a huge pile of gold in front of you, and boy, your mind changes really quick.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Really quick. You're ready to go back out and do it again. I know that's for sure.
Well, actually, I do know that. Only it's in a smaller scale. work your butt off and get 100 pieces of gold. I go, oh, I gotta do that again.
Yeah, I was working that plaster mine out here, and I was the gold room cleanup guy, and I'd sit there and run that shaker table, and man, nothing gets you more excited than when you start running that shaker table, and all of a sudden that line lights up with yellow, and the next line lights up with yellow, and all of a sudden the whole thing just stays like that for 30, 40 minutes. It's like, oh my God, we're rich. We're all rich.
And then you weigh it up, and you got 5 grams.
Oh no, we hit a couple ounces every time, but it was cool. It was just that I'll never forget the rest of my life. It's just an amazing feeling. You work the dirt, you you run it all and you think you ain't got crap, and then all of a sudden you start cleaning it up, and all of a sudden, poof, this big light gold just shines right through it, and you're just watching. Oh man, look at that piece! Look at that piece! Oh my God, that's a big old piece there! Oh, I can't wait to clean the nugget trap out.
Oh,
Yeah, that was probably my most favorite experience is watching that shaker table work, because man, that just makes your day. And then when people come in and they've already worked themselves to death, you know, running the equipment or keeping the plant up and running, they come in there and see that they like faces light up and everybody's all happy and excited. And that's just a wonderful feeling.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, payday's always good.
Right? As long as the check cashes.
Right.
Right.
Yep, that's for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Did you ever do any other prospecting besides metal detecting and hard rock, or did you ever dredge? Or
Yeah, I do some dredging up in the springtime when we got the runoffs. Then I got plenty of water to dredge with. I've done some high banking with it. I think I've hit just about every form of mining that's available to the small prospector, except really going into the hard rock.
Right.
I tend to try to stay away from it a little bit.
So it's still kind of small stuff in the rivers? That
takes you down a whole nother set of roads that cost more money than you want to spend, but
right.
So I'm sure that road's coming eventually.
Still kind of small stuff in the rivers, or is there bigger stuff that like concentrated in the rivers?
Well, okay, so out here you got to think of not as a river. You got to take that and put that in a box that doesn't belong here. The best I can tell you, there's only like 2 or 3 really decent rivers down here that carry some gold in it. And a lot of it's fly poop. Some of it's bigger than that. But the basic is you'll have a wash that comes out of the mountain range, and in that wash you'll have a dry creek bed, which does bring down that material. And some of these are bigger creek beds that bring down that material, but it never travels very far. So it's a whole different animal versus like where guys that see a creek that run year round and they'll get the floodwaters, they'll bring everything down.
It only travels in the flash floods.
Yeah, the flash floods is what brings it. And when you're in there digging in the dirt, you'll definitely see the strata where it shows up at, and you're like, oh, there's a bunch of big rocks. That was definitely a big flood that time. And then you'll see a little bit of pebbles and then big rocks again. And you can definitely tell where it came and went from.
Right.
But it's never a point where it's like you can go out and dredge every day. I mean, there's some places that you can that are here, but most of it you're waiting for your runoff. Then you've got flow in your creeks, and you can go out and really hit it hard, and that's usually springtime.
Yeah.
So you got a short window there.
Yeah, you got a short window. The biggest thing with Nevada is just finding the water. Even think about sluicing or dredging or panning. I know when we go out, did you bring the water? Yeah, I got the water in the back. Okay, good.
Yeah, it's just so new to me because there's just so much water over here where I am.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's something we don't worry about. We don't worry about water. In fact, the less water, the better sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. You know, a lot of times.
So you can get in the water.
Yeah, no, it's just new to me because I'm just totally on the opposite side of the country, you know?
Yeah, well, that's right.
No
water would suck.
Everything's all about water, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
my main thing is there's too much water. You got to put weight belts on, put 90 pounds of lead on you just to sink to the bottom, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that catch. I mean, if you got water, you're definitely blessed. If you got gold in your creek, you're definitely blessed, you know? So that takes 90% of your problems away. When you don't have water, then you got to start coming up with ingenious ways to get the gold out somehow.
Exactly.
Or carry lots of water with you.
that's just really neat to hear the opposite of the country, how they do it, you know.
Yeah,
So you-
like I said, a lot out here. I've been places where I've had water year round that I can go out and dredge and sluice, and it's really amazing. But again, you still deal with that huge pile of overburden that's sitting on top of it that you still got to work through to get down to decent gold. Other places, it's just a runoff creek that flows maybe a month or two out of the year, and that's the only time you have any kind of water, and then it dries up, and then you're back to dry washing again.
Dry washing, right. And what'd you say? Dry washing is only like 85% efficient, you said?
If everything is just tits on, you're looking between 80-85%.
Right.
But
I'm sure it captures all the bigger stuff, though.
But with water, you can get closer to that 95-96%.
Right. Huh, that's really neat.
Well,
it's just pretty cool to hear about that side of the country, because I'm going to go out there for the winter and give it a whirl. I mean, I tried it once quick before, but I'm going to spend the whole winter out there, so it's pretty neat to learn about.
Yeah, the winter's kind of rough if you've been in Alaska or maybe the upper states, right along the Canadian border, so where you get pounded by the snow and the cold, and it's just a long winter. But once you get through it, boy, it's game on, time to play. And some of the places that you play at, you've only got a short season, a couple months, and then you're already getting snow up there, so it's time to leave. And other places it's dry year round, so you can go out there and play all year round. It just depends on what part of the state you're in to go work. I mean, I believe Jeff's down somewhere south by Vegas, so he's in that area where very little snow, but it's always dry, so he can always go out and play. Up here, we see all kinds of snow, and you don't get to go out and play as much, but you work with the seasons, and there's plenty of room to go play.
So it gets pretty cold where you are?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it down to 20, 30 below. I've seen 50 below before.
Oh,
it just depends on where you're at. The mine where I happen to work at, you can see days where it's 25 below, and if you're up on top of the mountain, you can see 30, 40 below with wind chill.
It's colder than here.
Below, so.
Well, he's up almost a mile high though too. He's up at elevation where he's at.
I'm in Mass. It's only like usually gets maybe 20, 15 at night. Doesn't get 20 below. Well, every once in a while, but not that much.
The coldest place I've ever been at in my entire life is Florida, and I'll never forget it. And it's hard to comprehend that, but at 10 degrees and the wet, damp cold, it just sops you like there's no tomorrow.
Yes, I've been to Florida.
Every bone in your body hurt.
I've been to Florida when it's been wet and cold, and it's not fun.
No, I'll take this dry cold any day of the week.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Benzo Bonanza says, packing up for the big day tomorrow, following the gold. It's getting more and bigger.
Where's he from?
Don't remember.
I don't think I've seen him on here.
I've seen him out here before. I don't remember where he's from.
It's got to be somewhere warm.
Yeah.
Well, that's like my buddy across the street. He has a YouTube channel, and he does snowmobiling, so it's kind of got me into it. And we're gonna work together and do a collaboration shortly, where we're gonna do some kind of snowmobile expedition where we can go out and actually do some surveying on some of the ground where we can't get to normally in the summertime because there's just no roads to it.
Right. Benzo's in North Carolina.
Oh.
Yeah, that's easy winters over there.
You can dredge there with a heater, no problem.
Yeah.
Right.
All year long. They got gold.
They got gold there. Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot easier winters there than here, I'm sure.
That's for sure.
Yep. Man,
That's for sure.
A couple people out the way. They got some nuggets out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's spotty, but I've seen some people pull up some really good stuff out there.
Isn't that where what's that geologist's name? You flew in his dad's plane, Ed. Ed, you still there?
I can't think of the guy's name.
I know. What the hell's his name? He's a director also. You know he is.
I know a couple of guys, but
Matt.
you guys.
Matt.
Oh, the Matt Hotspar?
Yeah, Matt.
Oh yeah, no, that's the guy I was thinking of. Yeah, no, we've been contacting back and forth, and man, he's been pulling out some crazy stuff for that area.
I know.
But I think there's claims out that way, so I believe he's on claims. You know.
Yeah, Benzo's got it good. He's only 40 degrees.
Like I don't think you can. I don't think it's public land out there.
That's a nice warm day there.
Yeah.
That's almost shorts weather.
Yeah.
So that's the thing out in Nevada, right? It's all claims.
No, actually, it's not.
Oh, really?
There are gold districts out here that do have a lot of claims. Primarily, when you get out here, the biggest thing you see is not plaster claims, unless it's a huge district, but it's all load claims. The bigger companies come in, do some test drilling, and then they'll claim up like blocks and blocks and blocks of land under load claims, for a potential project down the road.
All the big boys.
Yeah, just for
what about
for today, for tomorrow.
Small guys? The small guys they don't really have claims out there?
There's people that have claims out here, but like I said, the majority of the claims that you see are huge block claims that the bigger mining companies come in and put load claims on.
Oh, right. Yeah, because out my way there's no claims whatsoever. It's all just public land or open land or
private property.
I don't think there's any claims until you get down south, I think.
Yeah, so you're good. I mean, everywhere you go out here, it's hard not to be on someone's claim that was staked 25 years ago and still active, but the stakes have all fallen down because of the weather,
Right.
You got to definitely do your
research
and
comes
double
in.
check everything.
I have some stuff going on here, guys. My granddaughters had to go to the hospital. And
it is past 10 o'clock.
Okay.
It's 10 o'clock now. We've been on 2 hours. Mike, I really appreciate it. Brian, thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
I hope you had a good time, Mike.
Absolutely. I certainly enjoyed it.
Well, cool. Glad you were here. And hopefully we can hook up with you and come out to your area for a weekend or a week or something. And
yeah, just give me a jingle.
I drove to Chef Berry's from where we were at last year, so it's only like a 4-hour drive, 5 hours.
Right. Cool.
Definitely, that'd be nice.
Well, thanks, Mike, for showing up and giving us some of your insight and some of your stories and making Brian curious about going out west. And
yeah, it's a whole nother world out here, man. I tell you that.
Definitely.
And Chef Barry goes, desert party.
And
right on.
Chef Barry.
Mr. Lodak dropped a link in the chat room for the Flash Raid. Video calling show.
Video calling.
And
going over there.
Everyone.
Hopefully Jesse will call in.
I might not be there, but do a Flash Raid anyway.
Take care, Ed. That's your granddaughter?
Yeah, the baby, brand new, just a couple of months. Everybody, don't forget, it's that time of year. Hit up tomsgolddirt.com. Use the coupon code FLASH for 5% off any purchase. There's a bunch of links in the description below. A few of them are affiliate links, but you know, no extra cost to you. It helps us. Everybody, our special guest, Mike from Baby Girl Mining, thank you very much. I'm glad you had a great time. I know we did, even though things were kind of hectic on my side. Jesse, Dano, thank you as always, brothers. Brian, thank you for calling in, and tons of good questions and good conversation.
Absolutely. See, that's why you need to call in more often.
I did the best I could.
Hey, you did great. And all of you out there, you know, it's because of you all we do what we do. And
that's right.
I can't show my appreciation enough for all of you, all the Flash fam and the LBPA brothers out there and sisters. Thank you all. And next week we're having Jason, Flower Gold Wizard on.
All right.
That should be another great show. Of course, it's Tuesday Night Hangout Live.
And make sure you bring plenty of beer next week.
Yeah.
I'm on the rum.
I think that's what he drinks. Everybody, hope you all have an awesome week. Until then, may you always have a flash in your pan.
And you know what he's going to say
next. And you know what he's going to say next.
That's right, guys. Maybe one day, too, we'll meet you on the river. Good night, everybody.
See you later.
Good night, everyone.
See you, Jesse. Dano. Dano balls.
Good night, Brian.
Is that
good night, Mike? Hey,
guys.
Nugget Brain.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.